school buses?
Yeah, school bus, yeah.
Everybody can know that I think.
We'll start with Route 332 light. We had Jared and I talked with people from what's the street?
That's the truth, guys.
Tuesday morning. They came in and gave a little presentation about their capability. And they're willing to come in and talk to the town board, like, length and however, this is something we've been talking about for quite some time. It'd be nice to get to the end of that discussion and make some moves on this, so. Jim, you're the one that's been talking to the vendors, potential vendors, so.
Yeah, working with not so much the one that Chuck's looking at, like an actual, I'll call it third party provider who works through us to get the lights. I've been working directly with a light distribution company that can get us the lights, and we could hire some people for us. And at our last meeting, we discussed how we were looking for 2 lights with banners on the lights themselves. So what I have here, I think I sent this to you also on email. I also wanted to let you look at this. This is what the look that is a possibility. So from your call, right? Of a light that goes over 332 and a light that would go onto the sidewalk with the banners. This is just one option he sent us for us to review and see if we do or do not know what this looks like. I also sent a price to all of you. The per fixture without install is 4,500. So that's 330,000. I just doubled it to be installed. And I thought we should put 12% contingency on it because I'm only just trying to protect us so we're not coming back to the board for money later. So I was going to suggest a price tag of 740,000 for these lights to be replaced. This is for 74 lights on 332. There's no lights being placed on Parkside or Fire Hall because I think there's other discussion there that's going on, maybe in the future about what's to be built out there. And until there's a sidewalk out there or something, I'm not so sure if we really should spend that money now, but that's up for the board to think about.
Those would replace all the lights that are up there now.
They would replace all lights on 332.
Is this from Emerson to City Line, basically?
Correct. Yes.
And you said the number was 740?
That was my number, John. I don't have an actual ballpark, but I just doubled the 330,000 it cost for the lights.
Yeah.
And then I added 12% contingency.
Yeah.
I mean, over there, we have something to cover if there's they come across some bad wire someplace, because obviously they look at every foot of a wire.
You know they will.
You know, there'll be something that will come up that might cost us some money.
So for my edification, do you have to bid this?
Yeah, we'll have to bid this. Correct. What I would like to do is kind of town put together a bid. I'll just say use this for example, if we agree upon it, of this light fixture to go out to bid for people to bid on.
Bid on the install and
Install
fixture.
and fixture, yeah. And I'd like to stay away from alternates to this, unless we can really show that it's either better or something better warranty, because I would like to avoid what we went through last time of multiple light fixtures that got submitted to us, and let's face it, none of us are light fixture experts, so I would like to focus on one and just use that going forward. That's my opinion.
Is it black steel or the?
It could be a bronze, a black, it could be silver.
Is it
something-
steel?
It's aluminum.
Yeah.
So Jim, you can either hard spec that and just don't allow
Mhm.
an or equal, just say that's what it's gonna be when you put your bid package out. I just realized that whomever you're sole sourcing, they will have the ability to get a little extra scooties out of it, but. In the grand scheme of things, if that's what you guys are looking at, then, that's a way to do it. The other way to do it is to do, you could do like a free select. Which basically, you're not actually soliciting the contractors to install. You're soliciting the manufacturers to basically say, this is what we want for our basis of design. And then you can allow them to submit an or equal, and then once you've made your pre-select, then when you put it out to bid, this is the equipment that's been selected, so then the contractors can only bid on. Yeah.
Other alternative that you don't mention, which we could do also, is you could hard spec it. Bid it, and then when we have a selected contractor, you could ask them, are there other alternatives that we could use similarly in budget?
Yeah, there's a few ways to skin that particular cat.
So
But you wanna use the select.
This
I mean,
is
it
what
seems
this
right,
is
right.
what I brought to the committee
Right.
to review, to have discussion.
So I was late,
It's okay.
somebody was keeping me. Is there, so what was just 30-second, was it the warranty and the utility?
That, I don't have in front of me, I'll have to.
This is the one that,
This is, when we spoke last month, we said we want two lights,
Yeah.
one for the sidewalk,
Mhm.
one for 332 with banner. No receptacles, no smart
No,
technology,
yeah.
just, we want a light that works.
yeah,
So, discuss with local distributor up in Rochester, this is what they presented to me that would fit that bill.
perfect.
Um,
And then I agree 100% that we have the same, and then whoever
Also
does
want a
it,
light that works.
yeah, whoever does it, then yeah, they come in and it's like. If they have one that's 99% similar to that, but it's a little bit, they have the better deal, they have that buying power. And then it's a consideration,
as both John and Greg said, are different things,
yeah,
warranty.
Yeah.
Aesthetics, what I don't wanna necessarily get into is. Going to try and decide which. I'll call head,
yeah.
Yeah, the style.
the
Yeah.
style, I mean. There's
That could take
lots
forever.
of styles out there,
No,
when
we-
you start looking at the catalogs of just this line, there are several styles.
Are these similar to what city's done? I mean,
Yeah, kind of
it's kind of what to me
similar,
look like.
yeah, like along Lake Shore.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking, they have that look, that appearance, so there'd be some continuity. Through, from
Right,
down through the city to the lake.
now so last week it was this week. The folks, and that's what this is, the folks from Centrica had come in.
So sure, nobody wants to participate in this concept.
Yeah, and and Terry and I had sat in on that, and that's where this came from. They're the ones that did the city.
Mhm.
Did you mention that at all?
Yeah, I brought that in.
Yeah, and they can, and they would obviously have to bid and do that and talk to us, but they can tail that to other projects, but also helping pay for it. They have tap into the solar offsets and other things to help tap into the grant money and potential solar, maybe solar on this building in certain spots or solar in different areas. That our solar creation
Mhm.
would offset our energy bill,
Okay,
which then would offset the price of the bond that we would need to pay for the lights.
So
So
it seems
instead
to
of,
me that they were pushing solar harder than they were anything else.
yeah,
There's more
I
money.
mean, it's a revenue, yeah. But it's also a way to move the revenue around to help.
Yeah,
It's gonna help us.
It helps us, but it helps them,
Yeah.
it helps them, I mean, instead of paying for lights. We're paying for the solar system. That pays for the power, instead of paying the power company. We're paying for that.
There's a lot of shells in that game.
There are,
there are.
but we're paying for that instead of paying for the lights.
Well, I would
That
like to
pays
see
for the lights.
head-to-head comparison,
Yeah,
Where the mission is.
because we need lights as soon as we can.
Lights that work.
Get lighting up there, so what's that cost from? These guys, Centrica or whoever else bids on, it,
But
and then solar is a kind of a,
Something else.
Can you check with
amendment.
Can you check with Rob Richardson from
Yeah.
NYSERDA to see if whatever they're talking about would give us more points toward the grant?
And it might
from
open up
their
grant.
state?
Well, there's
Jim
talking
needs, I'm
about,
sure our LED and LEDs go bad and there's somehow that we can replace the fixture, yeah, good.
Yeah, now, the Centrix, is it called? I know
Centrica.
what Centrica. Is that a, are they, something that the town board would have to write the RFQ for to get interest?
Well, they
in?
submitted they submitted an RFQ.
Yes, they did.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so they submitted an RFQ, I mean, we could do an RFQ and they already submitted that as part of this with their scope of what they would do.
Okay,
I mean, they could come in for a presentation, we could do an RFQ as part of this to see what people's had ideas as far as funding for this. I mean, I told them, I said, we have the money to pay for it. We just want lights. We have the money in the budget to bond it and pay for the lights now. We just want them, but if there's a way to pay for get the lights to help with the paying for the lights and not touch what we have in the budget for the bid and be able to build that for other projects and other things that we would need, that's even better.
It's a win.
It's a win there.
I'm just bringing
Yeah,
you
right.
guys the information.
Yeah, no, and then
let
you
the board
decide.
make those decisions
Make-
on
yeah.
what's their.
Centrica does a lot with the Association of Towns, they're always at the
Yeah.
meetings.
Right.
Always, they did a presentation at one of the meetings I was at, they seemed like a pretty legit.
Right, and we can talk, they did all the city, they did all the lighting down Main Street, and they did all their,
They're
did all their-
highlighted in this.
they did all their rooftop systems
Yeah.
in the city as well.
well, I think we need to have, complete pictures, there's, multiple bids and, this introduction of solar. We spent probably 2/3 of the meeting talking about that rather than the lighting. To me, it just seemed like they're selling solar,
Mhm.
that was their objective for coming in here, and I'm not. Think we have to keep the focus on the lighting costs and all that,
Right.
absolutely.
But that was their way to pay for the lighting.
But that's
Right.
something you have to see, you have to realize also with that solar, you don't have forever.
Right.
As we were talking before the meeting. That comes back again in 15 to 20 years. You got another cost to replace all that.
So,
They indicated that we would probably need an acre or so of space
Yeah.
to accommodate the amount of solar it would take to power these lights, so,
so you're talking about having a solar farm somewhere
yeah.
that supports these lights.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be,
And then it also sounds like that can be something that we address or add after the fact.
that's the way I think we should look at
Yeah,
it.
we might
Let
be
them
able to.
supply those numbers, but
Yeah,
as an amendment to. But it's. I mean, where do you put it? Where's an empty acre you could put this? I don't think there's so. I mean, that's another.
that's their, if they wanna do it, and if there's a way, that would be their job, if it was something that we would wanna buy into.
Would this program be like, I'll say. The town needs to do the solar first and install that before the lights go in?
I don't know
Like,
if that,
is that, what I'm getting at is like, how's the program roll out? Can you put the lights in and do the solar later to get the money? Or if you put the
Well,
lights in first without the solar, you don't agree?
Well, the point is of they tap into state, they tap into state and federal funding. For the solar, which is about 30% offset. For the solar, it's the tax funding.
Mhm.
For the solar rebates, that lowers the cost of the solar. And then the solar goes in, and it's a note that we pay on the solar basically. Which then would be cheaper than the electric that we would be paying.
But we really don't know which would go in first, right?
Right,
That's up to
exactly. We don't know. That's
I
the
mean, we want the lights
difference.
in.
Yeah, that's what.
Never mind. the
So
lights.
that-
Question is like, let's get the town board move forward with lights.
We can, and if we can
And you
do
go,
that.
oh, I wanna take this paid for it, or like, well, you put lights in first, so.
Yeah, so it's a deeper discussion.
I,
We can have it, it's worth having.
I'll just ask, was
Yeah.
sure how it
I'm,
works.
I'm sure we could go to them and say, this
Yeah.
is what we're going to do, does it fit
Yeah.
what you do? I mean, honestly, I'm gonna do that, we want the lights.
I mean, send out the RFP or the RFQ, see what comes back and how much money they are for the different programs. And just send it out,
Well, too.
if they respond to it, they respond to it, but and see what we ended up with. I mean, personally, we've been trying to encourage solar to only be in commercial and industrial areas and stop taking up bigger land. So I think there are more important uses for that land up there, be it housing or parks, than solar field. That's fine.
Well, it would seem hypocritical of us to.
It wouldn't be, it wouldn't
It's so
necessarily,
difficult for the town to,
well, it wouldn't be up there.
people, install solar fields. We're making it very difficult for them via our zoning. And then we go and enter into a, solar farm on our own.
Yep.
It just seems a little hypocritical to me.
I mean, especially when we have a way to pay for it.
So who would you be going out to ask? This is what we want. You have people that you would contact and say, come back and tell us what's cost.
Well, last time, Cacame's Power Construction Group. Third one, it's local, Billatier, they will see the bid and receive it and then
Okay.
put a quote price towards it.
Well, these people told us the other day, they do complete installation. They source the lights and they do the installation, so. You should probably contact
Yeah,
them also.
they're turnkey.
See what, well, what's their cost, yeah.
Well, so that was my next question, if we include them, right, for doing this.
They didn't say that, I think they make their money, if they get the contract. That's where they make their money.
Who are you talking about now?
All this company.
This is saying. No,
I think that that's a separate conversation.
Well, I'm not talking about solar end of it.
They do
I'm
lights.
talking- They do the lights,
So let them bid it.
well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Include
Include them
them.
and reach them out to them to bid.
I mean, advertise it publicly, I mean, anybody can bid
We
it,
reach
right?
out
As
to
long as they
anybody.
can provide a bond and provide a surety.
And they're a reliable bidder.
And somebody can call them and say, hey, we got a project out there, if you're interested.
Right, exactly.
But they-
Who's gonna write the specs?
I'll probably work with the vendor that put this together.
Cause you gotta come up with the strength of the lumens in terms of, I mean, you're gonna use the existing bases,
Pole
right?
bases, yeah, we can use those,
So based on that spacing, you've gotta determine
which she's already
what your foot candles are gonna be, yeah, okay.
which he's already done that, he's already given us the
And that,
barometrics
and
on
that converts to the strength of
Mhm.
the power.
Does this, the numbers that you are projecting there, do they include, you know, there are questions about the integrity of the wires underground. I mean, is there, that's a contingency? you have?
Yeah, I put 12% contingency on 660,000, which comes up to 80,000.
So we become, we don't know, you gotta go out and get another check, but.
I would think for the most part. The work that Power Construction Group did for us prior to us. Going back out to bid, they were coupled because it was copper wire. There were some handholds that need to be repaired, which run 30-ish years, I'm sure there's. Handholds and fuse kits that have to be repaired. So
There
that's,
must be a reason some of those don't work.
yeah, that's
You know,
why.
that's the concern,
Yeah,
right?
part. They fixed all the fuse kits already once, but the problem is moisture gets in there
Yeah.
and they short out, that's the involved, they all go back out again
Okay.
on those handholds, it's just old.
Did anybody ever question the safety of the concrete bases? Being 2 feet above the ground in terms of being breakaway or?
Actually, they're not 2 feet above the ground, the bases are maybe stick up maybe 6 inches above the
Maybe
ground.
2 feet deep, okay.
Yeah, they're not, they don't stick up like, parking lots, you
Yep.
could back into, be at the base, not the pole,
And these would be breakaway
these are breakaway house.
bolts.
Yeah, the gentleman who I've been talking to is familiar with the pole base.
Okay, so what's the next step?
Lights that work.
Well, I think
That's the last.
that's like,
Get it in for the 20 meeting on the 25th to release the RFP.
yeah, I'll try.
We can work on that, so that can be the goal for both of the 25th.
All right,
That calendar I set out with a deadline that can be flexible.
well, I understand it, I will work on that. Do you guys agree with what the light looks like?
Yeah,
It looks nice, it looks really nice.
it looks
And I
nice.
see no need, like we said last time, for anything smart, because it'll be unsmart in 2 years anyways.
Right.
We don't need to provide that up there. People
No,
have,
yeah, it's fine.
we have Wi-Fi, we have coverage everywhere.
Yep.
We don't need. We
If it
don't
were
need it.
Cheshire, that would be.
We don't need it.
We're good.
Okay.
What about traffic cameras like the city? I don't
No.
see any.
That's a big no.
It's a state road.
City,
Only
Yeah.
traffic safety.
I saw that on their list of their agenda for the
Yeah.
meeting the other night.
Some
They
lady,
passed it.
Yeah.
some lady yelled at me at
They
the,
passed it?
yeah, some lady yelled at me at the green front for that last night.
And you're like, not me, not my
Like,
circus.
But they have broken sewer lines, they have water lines and everything else, I'm like, well, that's how they're gonna pay for that's how they're gonna pay for that now, all those traffic cameras.
It's not a revenue source.
Right.
Boy, and the city of Canandaigua it could be because there are a lot of people.
But that's what
agrees right
They
there.
rolled back the stoplight cameras in the city
Mhm.
because it was basically proven to just be.
That's what these are.
You know, they're just passing revenue on to a different entity out of state.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay, let's move along to lighting, Washington Junction parking lots, Jim, that's
Yeah,
I think the question of Washington Junction has to be. Talk about lighting first.
Okay. I thought he gave me a cut sheet, we didn't, so I apologize. So. This lighting has been discussed for Motion Junction to get the parking lots, the driveway lit. And part of the reason is when we have events there, there'll be lighting for people to use the parking lots to get in and out. And also if there's an event after dark for some reason there's lighting to get in and out. It's also for keeping people, let's say, not parking there at 2, 3 in the morning that we see a lot of. And then that's. You never know, it's just, wow.
Interesting choice
Yeah.
for Lover's Lane. but-
It is, so,
Not really hidden.
these lights would be basically like the ones in the town hall there, square to the directional LED that would flood. You would need 12 of them with light pole bases, conduit and wire. And the poles themselves are $1,300. The base is about 700, and if you add the wire and conduit for 5,000. Some handholds, I keep up with a number of 30,000 to put those lights in around there.
12 of them,
12 of them,
so about $2,500 a piece,
Yeah.
$2,800 a piece.
yes,
And that's on us, not Motion Junction.
that's correct. That is something that been discussed for lighting out there.
Will those lights be basically similar to what's across the street or,
No, those are more of a colonial, these will have more of a, I'll call it Cobra head, but
Okay.
directional. So they're not gonna be down, it'll be like a flood going out, so they
Okay.
can flood the parking lot.
These self-installed,
Yeah, we'll install these. They're not small. These are-
What was it called for originally? Was there any design originally or any?
or sure.
There was all kinds of stuff.
Well,
Let's not talk about the past.
That job's not really
No.
a paint by numbers kind of
let's
job.
talk about the future, Motion Junction, I saw that invitation that, yesterday for the ribbon cutting. And I don't know if any questions have been answered since our last meeting, where there's about 80 grand due to different vendors that hadn't been paid, they're demanding payment. This whole thing is like trying to grab a handful of smoke to me, I mean, it's just, where is it? There needs to be somebody in charge of this thing, from the town side pushing it.
I agree, Terry. Lindsay was in and did a thing for parks, both Adeline and I were there. We have no representation on there. We have to have somebody on their board so that we know what's going on.
So
It
I
is
would,
rough.
I know that Massa Construction. I know that Massa Construction had stepped and has been working on them with them. But I would say, I know that we had brought this up, John, before, I know that I'm springing this on you. I know with your construction background and experience. Would you be willing to be that, think about it, to be that voice on that to try to help carry this through? You don't have to don't answer now, but
it depends on what the level of involvement is, I mean, I just, I get a lot going on,
okay,
but if,
even just to give them a kick in the rear end and say,
yeah, that's my question, I mean, it depends on what the level of involvement is, if it's just going there. Once a week to check on them and talk to them and see what's going on,
that's a maybe.
then, yeah, I can probably do that, but if it's something where. you know, they need to have someone kicking them in the butt every single day being out there,
That's a no.
then it's a little tough for me to.
So we've
Yeah,
got,
I wouldn't think that that would be,
No.
I think it's more of a, being our town representative sitting there. Having them pass the information, and you making a judgment,
Because-
thinking that, based on your experience and knowledge,
And
that
I
hey,
did
you
talk,
guys should go this way, not that way.
and I did talk with Art Farrell, a couple weeks ago, who is doing the mechanical work there, and he told me that his holdup was the electrician. And it sounds like the electrician, based on what he told me the other day, did what he needed to do so Art could install this work. So I think it sounds like there's progress taking place, but yeah, I mean, again, if it's something where I can do it on a fly, and there once a week,
Okay.
I can do it.
Jim, when's
I
the
don't mind
meeting?
doing it.
Monday at 9 o'clock.
What's that?
Monday,
We-
11th at 9 o'clock.
so we have a meeting. I wouldn't say come to this one, but we've got a preliminary meeting and we can find out more details of that meeting for you.
I might wanna sit there.
Yeah,
But I
I'm
thought I
just-
had something counting on, hang on.
so Monday at 9.
Monday at 9 where?
That's why nothing's showing up.
Here?
Is that, no, I'm in May,
I do the problem with Ocean Junction is they submit bills.
'Cause I'm in
Here's
May.
25,000 we want you to pay,
Well,
here's 10,000 we want you to pay.
Yes.
Honestly, the issue is that the horse got let out of the barn
Yes.
too soon, because Emily set up all these contracts, paid people.
Yep.
So there's no GC.
Yeah, that's. the
I know,
problem.
it's a combination of no GC, there's no contract. And then because of all that, you know, because Tommy Frommer has been trying to help through this whole thing, but it's like herding cats, because there's so many parts and pieces
Do you know
that hold
Massa
things up.
Construction?
Right.
But
Only know.
I don't have any leverage,
I don't know.
like I
any
can't
other
like
guy. I don't think I've ever- I
withhold
don't-
payment and be like, no, I need you to be here, I'm gonna withhold, I don't have that lever, so. You're at the mercy of just people's kindness and their, you know, what's going on with their schedule to be like, is this done, and so. You know, that's why it is what it is,
And that's what we need.
Playground plays.
We need somebody that will do that for us.
I know, but you don't have a, you don't have a contract, that's
No,
all.
well,
If you wanna just sit in,
We're not
we'll
gonna
be on
pay
Zoom
you
as well.
No, no, I know, I'm not saying that, I'm not even saying it's not, I'm not saying it's us or it's whomever, it's just the fact that like. You have, there's no GC, there's no prime,
Right.
so it's just a whole bunch of subs
So there
that
will be
are
a
all
couple
trying to just do their little
different
piece and trying to communicate and just.
And that's not what he's
Well,
trying to
that-
do, so that's not
So you
what.
can-
John's-
That's
Well,
what we need,
it'll help me,
maybe as close as we get to it, so.
It'll help me,
But I think he's saying
understand
that's
what
not
side,
a level
yeah.
that we can do.
And that's what I'm saying, like, without having
what I
a
mean?
contract and be able to
Yeah.
pull back money.
Agreed.
I just don't have any leverage over the contractor, so it's really hard, you just, all you can do is ask,
And then I'll be able to get.
And some of that stuff's
Big of a message.
right?
Because the other,
Conversation
right.
going on here, but
I'm telling him about the meeting Monday. Cause Monday there's a meeting with representatives from Massa Construction. They're kind of, they've been the nice ones helping. And I'm sorry if anybody watches this, I realize there's a growing circle in the back of my head, so I apologize for that. And it's not a halo.
Just join the club.
Yeah.
there's a bit of glare
It's
there,
just
though.
Jim and me with the floor.
Thanks. So- Massa Construction has agreed to help out of the goodness of their hearts, to kind of help and pull it together as much as they can. And again, they're just doing it because they want to see this thing come to an end.
Right.
And you have other people helping up, willing to help. Floyd Rayburn helps as much, is willing to step in and pull and help, but there's no signed agreement. Already saying that with anyone. The meeting Monday is to kind of pull everybody together and figure out what we need to do to get this across the finish line. To get everybody happy and taken care of and have this, so it's not some public fiasco. So we have something we're all proud of, them and us. And then eventually break it and then it's ours. And then that's the plan. So that's what this meeting discussion is, to see where we are and what we need to do. That $80,000. I think that's the only carrot and stick that we have. To make sure that things get done right, and I think, you know, the agreement was that. We're not gonna just offer it up, that we hold it. They do as much, they feel the heat to do as much as they can to make good on their commitments. And at the end of the day. When those people are like, listen, they haven't paid us, we're tapped out. then we're like, okay, we'll pay them, but. You know, maybe that's part of where John comes in too, and then it's like, we'll pay this 80,000, but we need to know where you are.
Just a heads up, when the Parks Committee was discussing it, they weren't actually asking for that 80, that was what they owed, they were asking for what was it?
More like 25.
25.
Right.
And the Parks Committee recommended only
It's
two
coming at-
things
it'll
from the
come to-
list
right.
to come to the board.
But
to be
that's,
paid.
but that's the issue, is that
Mhm.
it's the moving target.
Exactly,
Do they have money in reserves that they could pay for? Are they holding on to money that they might wanna put somewhere else?
I think
maybe
you're eventually
for a
turning it
part two.
over, needs to be sooner rather than later.
But that needs to all be turned over. So then, yeah, they can raise money, but then that money comes over to the town to run the projects instead of them.
I don't believe we budgeted even 30,000 for motion.
No.
Yeah.
So, I mean, 80,000.
Has the flyer gone out announcing the grand opening?
It's that.
Or was
one-
that a draft for us
that's-
to consider?
That's a
I-
small,
I
that,
remember
it's
that.
gone out, that was an invite to us.
So
That
there's a
invite-
deadline already.
That's a deadline, that invite came to us, that was an invite.
Who sent that?
Nance Bentley's sent that out,
The grand opening invitation?
yeah. So, but
Well, that's
that's,
just as an indication of how this has been handled.
and that's a
That's pretty
smaller,
sure.
and I don't know, and that's, and that one. That one that I shared to you is for like the smaller, you know. Like there's the smaller one, but then there's the bigger ribbon
It's in
cutting,
June.
all that other stuff in June, yeah.
Second one is.
But then again, that's how it's all kind of been, it's always been. We got this grand opening coming out, we have all these people who need to get paid.
You need to get
We
rid of
have,
that
we
agreement.
have studs showing.
Yeah.
In the side of the building. Driving by it. This
Well,
morning,
hopefully you could come out of this meeting on Monday with some sense of the steps that are gonna occur
right,
to get us to completion.
Yeah.
Who's gonna do it?
You know, and how it may evolve during that meeting,
mhm,
who's going to do
Right.
what. I mean, that would be that's the place to hash it out, I guess.
Yeah.
But somebody's gotta.
and it never happened, that, I don't know that mean, I mean, I haven't been. Hadn't been able to sit on any, but I don't know that meeting had happened that. And because they were different moving meetings and. it was all
There's no,
It
I mean,
was
it's
all
just
still
a
in
scattered
slow-mo.
bunch of, it's really gotta change,
Yeah.
you're right.
It's not a rifle shot, it's been a shot. I mean, it's just. all-
Any well-meaning citizens
Blunderbuss.
trying to come
Yeah,
together
Yeah, I mean,
with no,
everyone has good
Yeah.
intent.
and everybody's
Yeah.
trying to do right.
Right, no
Go
questions
in,
asked,
but
it's
you know,
just
Heard
truck
past the
rules.
whole way through.
Jim, there is money.
wasting money.
There's money for your lights for the parking lot.
Oh, you mean the thing that we're supposed to be talking about right now?
Well.
Well, I think, I remember
There is. money
that, but
for
I don't,
that.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure we, because this other stuff just hit.
That, there wasn't that
Just
one in
had-
there, but there was
yeah.
like 70 or something. in
There's
there.
75,000
Yeah.
for lights.
I thought,
So you're gonna spend 30.
Let's say, yeah, around that range, so you have money left there that you could use towards.
40, right?
Towards your, whatever it is the park committee is recommending that you
Yeah.
guys discuss.
you were, what was it, 21? It's about
Something,
21.
yeah, I think they were talking about picnic tables, things they would typically do
It was
for a
picnic
park.
tables,
So
some-
they were uncomfortable with, you know, underground, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's all kinds of, you've seen that list that did you see?
Yes,
it?
I did,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's crazy, but it's great.
Okay, so Monday meeting will hopefully give us a little more direction going
Yes.
forward, so. Let's move on to County Road 28. I got a email from a guy by the name of Doody, Doody on Emerson Road. And he was asking me what was going on with all this, and nobody, his parents currently live in a house. This guy lives in Syracuse, he's a engineer, some engineering company in Syracuse. He owns a house, his parents are living in it, he owns a lot next door. But he said no one's ever contacted my parents. I went back to him and said, well, efforts have been made, and some people answered their door, some didn't, and all this, but. Told him at this point, where it stands is there are more no's than yeses. And he sent back, so put us down for a no. So you registered him as a no.
Yeah.
So where does it stand now, Jim, anyway, with
It's
the,
64 no's, 42 yeses.
Oh, so
And we haven't been able to contact,
that's a no though, if they, right?
yeah, if it's under 50%.
Yeah,
And we haven't been able to contact Tom anymore.
who's that?
We haven't reached, we haven't had contact with Tom anymore, with our automatic.
I
Under
mailed
5
at least
dozen
13 of them out.
Yeah.
Some are not home, they're out.
Yeah,
And a couple of them are just homes that, they're too elderly, so they're not in the home anymore, they're in a nursing home, and someone just oversees the
and they
house.
all have his notes.
Yes,
Is that in the numbers? The math that you've
yeah, I got
just
a
articulated here, 64 to.
42.
But it doesn't count the 13
Did
you
you
sent
count the
out.
13
It
as
did.
no?
64,
Oh,
okay.
so those
There
are
you go.
Yeah, I
mostly
put it-
those then, right?
I had in the letter, I said, please respond by March 7th.
Yesterday.
That was, I was trying to have a conversation today with everybody about where we're at.
So those 13 you sent out, did you get any response?
I got one,
And
No,
that was a no.
it was, he was a yes,
Oh, good.
he was a yes,
So right now, it's 64 to 42,
right,
It's,
no.
correct.
How much longer are we gonna run this?
no, it's a no, it's.
it's done.
Over.
Well, I mean, you're 64 to 42, right? Subtract 12 off the 64, put 12 on the
Yeah,
42, it's like, it might come down to like one person.
Well, we can't keep it. Well, the other thing is that.
Well, you got a shot clock on your ARPA money.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we gotta consider that, but Chris Nadler had asked Michelle to look at it from a assessment standpoint, where, you know, the 64. You know, knows if that adds up in dollars to less than 42 yeses.
So the assessment
There's a-
was 11 million versus 8 million.
Oh, was?
Yeah, that's just round numbers.
Okay.
11 million no's.
11 million, no, 8 million, yes. So, I had, Michelle has the information, I just wait for her to, whatever Chris needs her to do.
Was that property village or?
Yeah, property values. We said yes or no is what we said to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
people, because. And Chris wanted to do by property values, but if you have more no's than yeses, obviously, the property value goes up because of the no's. So,
All right, well,
So it looks like
That's
either
enough.
way, it's,
Well, didn't you say if it's 51 one way or the other, we are required to go that way?
right.
Yeah, if it's 51, no, then you have, I mean, then it's done. If it's 51, yes, then it has to go forward.
I will, the one thing that John just told me
Go ahead,
there,
Ron.
is. There's a lot of. Fixed income people on Emerson Road.
Mhm.
And a lot of those folks said it'd be nice, but not for 2,200.
Yeah.
So,
My comment about this whole thing now is that this throws us into a tizzy, for lack of a better word, because we got a lot of money that we gotta spend and the clock is running. And I was just sitting here thinking, and I'm just throwing it out for conversation and discussion. We got some decisions to make coming up. And this seems to be a good forum within which we can start discussing some of these projects and some of these to-do lists that we had. And I'm just wondering whether we ought to go and have, for a time being, I don't see this as full-time, continuing on into perpetuity, but maybe for the next couple of months, we start doubling up these meetings and having 2 of them a month rather than 1. And I hate to say it because you all know how I feel about the board meetings, but we,
I thought you
This
liked
is-
them.
yeah, well, this is a good working session. We need to start talking about where are we gonna spend some of this money that we got from ARPA? And we also need to start talking about this priority list. And it seems to me that this is a good forum within which to have those
so
conversations.
the ARPA money can only be spent in certain areas.
I understand.
And we,
And I think Jim's already knows where, you know, one of the big things that we have facing us, and to your point. Is the culvert on Seneca Point Road.
Mhm,
We were scratching for, we're gonna come up with another $500,000.
mhm.
Well, we had 750, we we're gonna set aside for this, so. I
I
mean,
thought-
and it comes under the heading for it to be used.
I thought when we had discussed that, when we had put the 750 here, we said it was a no. Then we were gonna move it on to be a
So, no,
outlets, that's what we had said initially, but that's why.
I think, to my point, and I don't think we should belabor that conversation right now, because I think it'll take a little while, and I don't know if we all have the time schedule to do it, but to my point, I think it's good to have some good conversation about, maybe it does go to Uplands, maybe it does go to Seneca Point, but I think we ought to have some conversation about it. That's
So are we're in a consensus that the money's not going to 28, because it
So-
can't.
This-
Yeah,
this is that deal.
It's done, we're putting a fork in it,
Or
moving on.
Moving on.
Yeah, I agree, yeah, you know.
can't keep going on,
Right.
yeah.
And bang on doors,
No,
people,
And this is the third time we've tried.
it's the third time we've tried.
so I would say,
How do we end up with a resolution at our meeting on the 25th?
Do we mention?
Well, I don't, that's the question, I don't know.
I'll talk to Nat,
I wouldn't say a resolution, it could probably just be a motion, you know.
yeah,
I don't think we did a resolution to get this whole
We
ball
didn't,
waxed.
yeah.
So I don't.
We did
Well,
for the.
We did a resolution
For
to
the-
do the,
to
to
do
do the
Petition.
survey.
Final report and all that
The
stuff.
petition, I just think it's a statement that we have the information and the petition. We return, we make a report and we return, or a motion to, or a resolution.
We acknowledge
During a meeting.
A resolution acknowledging the results of the petition.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Just something to close the vote.
So if you
Yeah,
can
it'd
give
be
me
nice for
the,
people to know what the results.
if you can give me the vote.
Yep.
Tallies, not by address, just yeses and nos.
Yep.
And I don't, we didn't even, don't even broach dollar amounts, because that wasn't
Yeah,
part of the
sorry.
deal. Just yeses and
That
nos.
was just, yes, and no's, and say,
Done deal.
people went door to door between the state and the state.
we also mailed.
Yeah, and mails.
So Jim, just a question, how many of those 64 were non-contact no's?
Actually. Not a lot.
Not a
I don't
lot.
know off the top of my head, I don't say maybe. 15 or so. It
But
wasn't a
enough,
lot.
like you say, if they went the other way,
Other way, yeah.
it would be a yes.
Different- yeah,
It's
they could
hard,
be a
I guess, tough way to go.
You know, I put a self-addressed. post.
No, I-
You know,
You've done everything I'm
I
not
tried to
saying.
make it easy for them, like, oh,
Right.
you know, I'm afraid to be like, I'm not gonna pay you to stand this on this bad.
Right, you know, I'm
Yeah.
not.
If it's a yes, they did respond.
Yeah, I mean, when you
Yeah.
went to the doors, they all knew what the heck you were talking about, and they all already knew what their opinion was.
They've already, yeah.
They were very clear one way or the other on it. So.
So I think with John's idea, I mean, talking about some of these things, because I think we've got. Listen, we've got the law,
Got a lot.
Yeah,
I mean,
we can spend
we've
money.
got a few things, I mean, I think definitely. With Adeline's point, I mean, I think for all of us, we'd love to see progress to get at least all people able to get up to the top of Ononda. Safer, more accessible access to the top, to have progress on that roadway up there.
And maybe. Maybe to Terry's point, maybe you got enough money with 750 to do both, but I think we ought to have some conversation about it
We're
and.
getting pretty darn close to both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't think we could do it.
1.1 probably you were guessing to get the road in up to the top of the. And the
You got a
underground.
number, buddy? Cause we've been talking about.
That was, I
I
thought that
don't-
was the rough at some point was around.
I know, well, Johnson had it up on his computer screen the other day, so I just didn't ask him about it, but I asked him, 'cause I think he was supposed to like. Get the, you know.
You say that for everything.
Sewer
That was
and
everything.
water,
Sewer,
and
water,
electric,
electric,
the road and the clearing.
Right.
So I thought it was somewhere, I
I'm
had
sure
that
I,
number
I'm gonna
was
say,
one
yeah,
right
you're
now.
probably million and a half, somewhere in that range.
And we've got 400 to it right now, so
Right.
the CM fund's got about 350, which we could use that for it as well,
But
So,
we also talked. And that's why I think that we ought to defer this conversation. We also talked that recreation and parklands are easier opportunities for grants. So, I mean, it seems to me like it's a conversation we need to have. And I
But
don't
the other
know
part too,
right now. is the
John, I
time.
think about is like your park grant, it's only capped out at 50%.
Yeah,
But the other part too is just, anytime you have co-funding,
Mhm.
that also helps, so that's why it might be good to
Mhm.
definitely include an ARPA
Sure.
component in anything that you're gonna look for other grant funding.
I support that. I'm not disagreeing with that. I think
Right.
we need to talk about the mix and the match and whether there are
Right.
other priorities on our list that we need to think about and talk about. I haven't seen the priorities list, and to me, I know that you were working on
that's
that.
happening, and that's gonna come out of finance.
Okay,
Lindsay's prepared. Lindsay's back, you guys talked about it.
Yep.
Jim shared an update, I was gonna share it,
Yeah, it's highway.
I was gonna share it at the board meeting, but Lindsay wanted to share it at finance, I can do a quick.
I think you gotta share it before finance, so we have an
I
opportunity.
can do a quick brief, I don't wanna have a long discussion about it at the board meeting, but I can do it as here's for your information. Here is where the staff came back with what they had, And then Lindsay wants to do more of an explanation on it and go into more depth on it.
At the finance committee
At the
meeting or
So
during
Lindsay,
the board meeting?
no, so Lindsay, I was gonna share it Monday. At our next board meeting. Just a preview, but then Lindsay wanted to go have more depth discussion at finance.
Yeah.
Prior to our end of the month board meeting.
I'd just like to have it.
Yeah, I can get it to you, just for review,
So
yeah.
we can review it.
So if you guys are okay with just it's just preliminary, there won't be any depth. Cause I don't wanna
Yeah.
jump her
No.
and what she wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I also wanna respect you guys and give you some information, so I will give
You
you,
just don't want us to be cut off guard. That's
I will give you preliminarily
Yeah.
what there is, what they came up with.
Let her explain it.
And you also want to stick to the format that was outlined in January for these second meetings every month and that.
Yeah,
At the last minute, be adding a lot of things in.
Right.
that
yep,
Take away from the intent.
exactly, and yeah, so.
Good. There was a question, just as an aside, there was a question asked at a finance meeting, maybe it was in January, that you go out for bonding, can you combine various things together under one
Yes,
bond?
yeah.
Yes, you can.
That got asked and answered.
We can. We can put those in, you can,
Don, you could, I mean, just send an email to Don's office if you want, you know,
We
official
can-
response.
we
But
can
yeah,
But
take,
that,
we can take multiple little ones and group them and
Good.
piggyback them.
If you remember, we actually talked about when this thing was finishing up, we were talking about packaging this bond with the capital improvement, yeah, so. It is something you can do, and they don't all have to have the same term either. Which was, that was a new one for me.
okay, well, let's move on to a lot of things on that. Park upland. I think that Delmore was getting that cabin out of side yard, so to speak, over here.
Getting a better view.
What can we do to get it situated and cost of getting water, sewer up to where? That
Right,
was,
right, it's been
Yeah.
working with,
We're working with Jadestone, or, you know, I got my site group on it, so I gotta get you guys a proposal to actually do the, you know, the actual design. Because we'll have to get approvals from Department of Health,
You're talking about the road design?
well, you got the
Cabin.
water, you gotta get utilities, all
Yeah,
that stuff,
yeah.
like, I mean, all that stuff has to be designed at some point in time. So that's what we're kind of working on, trying to give you the whole thing, but
what I've asked Greg for is get us a proposal, so we know what we're talking about for cost here.
Of getting that cabin up there.
not just getting, no,
Yeah,
not.
well, that's
Starting the
the
process.
visible thing.
Right.
Yeah, but we're
It's redoing the road, redoing the grading, redoing the drainage, redoing electric, redoing water, redoing sewer, septic. Bathhouse, you know, that, all those things would all be kind of in there. So that way you guys all understand what, you know, the full, at least soft costs would be for the development of.
And we'd be removing the things ourselves, right, that he doesn't.
The three cabins.
And the pavilion too.
And
What, I think the top one was
I didn't know the one.
not the lower. It's in the middle of the road.
Oh,
Okay. So I've asked Greg for us to come back to the town board with a proposal to put this package together.
I should have that sometime early next week, I would think.
Okay, so we can. Going back to John's comment about maybe having these meetings more frequent. At least until we get some idea of what we're gonna do moving forward with capital. Maybe we need to have that finance committee meeting and hear that presentation from Lindsay before we do something like that, but. I mean, I'm certainly willing to, whatever we gotta do. Want to meet twice a month until we get something going, or let's wait until we hear that and make a decision, but
When's the finance committee next meeting?
next
Next
Thursday.
Next Thursday, I just want to make sure I got.
It's always the second Thursday.
Jared, you may wanna look at the language that was submitted on the ARPA money to change R2 and what we're doing with it.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that.
Well, that's the other thing about
Tenaya?
the Italian, that's the other thing about the Ononda is that we already had said some of it's being used for Ononda, so that was already in the language.
Okay,
So
I know we can change it. Is that again, I've gotta go dig in that, cause I wasn't part of those, I wasn't part of the submission. So I will follow up and I'll dig into that and see
it
what,
was like February-ish.
Yeah. well, the initial filing of
Yeah.
that, so I will look and see.
Yeah, I'll just make, just if the town changes, it's fine.
To see what we
When it
need to do.
goes,
If there's
It's not
anything
going
funky that we
to
need to do,
screw
so right?
There
And
you go.
yeah, and I do, speaking of screwing things up, I do have a couple, when you're done, I just have a couple point of order, just.
Everybody was done with this part.
Okay. So I just wanna,
Oh, that's watering.
I do have
ARPA.
one privilege of the floor thing. The water, so we had qualified, we were really excited, we qualified for $2 million of federal earmark funding for the Farmington water tank project. Okay, through Claudia Tenney. Chuck Schumer was all ready to take credit for it. Because he was coming to do a thing for it. Pete, you're gonna love this part. Pete Inglesby was reading through the fine print and the bottom said, do not start any part of this project. Basically, I'm paraphrasing, until the grant money is awarded.
Well, that's.
So the ship has sailed. The project has already started.
Mhm.
So we don't get that $2 million earmark money that we were awarded. Because the budget wasn't passed in time.
Which budget is that?
Was it
The federal budget.
Was it 2 million
It
factored?
was not factored in.
Okay,